right, welcome back to another episode of Geek with Glasses. WWDC just, well, the keynote just concluded. WWDC is just now kicking off out in San Francisco. But the 2+ hour keynote, 2.5 hour keynote just completed, and I wanted to come down here and talk to you about all of the really cool announcements that Tim Cook and the gang basically let loose upon the world today during that keynote. And three major topics that they discuss. I'm going to be doing a lot of looking down because I've got everything on my iPad here for notes and things that I wanted to discuss. We start off with OS 10, the next iteration. Then they moved into iOS, the next iteration of that. And then they moved into the watchOS, and then they did do one more thing, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video. So I'm going to just quickly go through this list and talk about the features that they specifically discussed, and give a couple of ideas and thoughts on some of the things, and then maybe open it up with some question and answer via the comment section at the end of the video. But let's just jump right in. So the next iteration of OS 10 is going to be called El Capitan, which is Half Dome. It's the big mountain that you see in Yosemite National Park. And they went with that. The main focus on the El Capitan update is going to be on the experience and the performance. To be honest with you, it was a little bit of a lackluster update in my opinion. A lot of it is literally just some gestures and some modifications to the OS, but some of the stuff is pretty core and it's kind of cool. So main thing, one of the first things that I thought that was actually kind of cool was they showed a feature with new, what they're considering experience enhancements. When they're in Safari, you open up 50, not 50, but 5 or 10 different tabs in Safari, and all of a sudden you hear some music really loud. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what tab it's coming from. There's actually a little mute button in the URL line now where you can just hit that mute button, or you can click a button, find out which tab it is, kill that tab. Kind of a cool little thing. Lots of updates to Spotlight. So when you're doing search now, you can use real word searching. So if you want to find all of your emails that you sent last month to a specific person, you can say exactly that. So if I wanted to look for emails from my wife, I could say, show me all the emails I sent in the last 30 days to Leslie Perrin or my wife. I'm assuming my wife would work based on the contact list. But some really cool stuff like that. Show me all the photos that I took while I was in New York City last spring, and that'll bring up all of your photo apps or bring up your photo app and show you all of those photos. So real word searching in Spotlight is actually really cool. They're bringing out a side-by-side view and a resize capability. So what we've had in Windows since I think Windows 8, where you can drag an app to the left, drag an app to the right, it splits it down the middle. If you want to resize that and have one a little bit bigger than the other, you can just move a little slider bar back and forth. So they're giving us side-by-side capability. Swipe gestures, very close to and akin to the gestures that we've become used to in iOS. So if you want to delete emails, a couple of fingers on the trackpad, swipe to the left to archive it, swipe to the right to mark it read. Those types of gestures are coming to Mac OS 10. The other cool thing that I actually think is going to be really cool, being that I'm a gamer, is if you remember last year when they announced the Metal structure, the Metal, I guess it's an API, but it's actually a programming language. It's more than just that. But the Metal engine that we heard about for the latest version of iOS, that's actually coming to OS 10 now. And just some of their quick references is they're showing that they're getting 50% faster rendering in graphics, using 40% less CPU cycles, and you're getting actually a specific vendor, Adobe, which is actually kind of cool, and I'm digressing here, but Adobe actually claims that they're doing 8 times faster rendering, 3D rendering, using After Effects, using the Metal engine. So they brought Epic Mega Games up, or Epic Games up, and they did a demo of some of the new capabilities that Metal is going to offer for the gaming on the Mac, which, you know, I'm a big gamer and I have a dedicated PC for PC gaming, for computer-based gaming. And I would love to have some really fun games to play on my Mac when I travel, because I can't take my desktop PC with me. And using that Metal engine and being able to really optimize how the resources are used might actually give us a really great platform in the Mac, whether it be a MacBook or an iMac, to actually have some cool, really nicely developed Mac games, and might actually bring Mac into a legitimate gaming platform. You know, you've got Steam and Origin available for the Mac, and you can download lots of Mac games, but for the most part, Mac gamers are kind of casual gamers, they're not hardcore gamers. Maybe this, bringing Metal to OS 10, might turn Mac into a hardcore platform. We'll see. A lot of it obviously will depend on the graphics cards that are being put into the systems, but metal kind of alleviates some of that. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing what that'll end up turn into in the next few months actually. That was it essentially for the OS X updates that they're coming out with. But dev preview is going to be available today. I'm going to download that. I'm going to get that installed. I'm going to take a look at some of those, make a video on it, and let you know what I think. Public beta will be available in July, and then it'll be an upgrade in this fall, and that'll be a free update per the norm with Apple. So the next thing that they moved into is all the updates for iOS 9. The focus on iOS 9 was the foundation of the core operating system. They focused on Apple Pay, Notes, Maps, and a few other things. So under what they called Foundation, actually they broke it up into Foundation and Performance. And I was just reading my notes a little bit wrong. So let me come in here and we'll talk about Foundation. So a few of the things directly under the core is Siri caller ID is now searchable. So if you get a caller ID number or somebody calls you on your phone and you don't have them saved in contacts, you're just going to see the phone number, right? The cool part is Siri will now go in, depending on how quickly you answer your call, and it'll look through your email and it'll look for phone numbers associated with emails, and it'll give you a suggested contact of who may be calling you. So if you got an email from, you know, a buddy who has a phone that he's never called you from before, but it's in an email somewhere, but you haven't saved it to your contacts list, Siri will actually recognize that and it'll say, you know, maybe this is from John Smith, and give you a little idea, which is kind of a cool little feature. You know, it might make a difference in day-to-day life, but I don't necessarily know it's going to be a major game changer. So the next thing is iOS Siri has search capabilities and deep links within the app. So if I search on Siri for something and one of the apps on my phone has the information that I'm looking for, it'll respond that information and have a deep link so I can click the link on Siri and it'll open that application and give me the link information that I want from within that third-party app, and I think that's really cool. There's also on-device intelligence. So one of the things that they touted was all of this information, all of this intelligence that Siri now is capable of is all within the phone. They're not pulling that information back. They're not mining what you're doing, who you're talking to, how you're using that information. It's all on device and it's not being replicated out to the cloud and is secure in your device. So they mentioned that. Next big improvements is around Apple Pay. So Discover Card is going to be joining Apple Pay very soon. The other one that I think is really cool is Square. So for those of you who don't know what Square is, if you're a small company and you say, let's say a buddy of mine who's a photographer, he uses Square for payments. You can give him cash, checks, or Square, but it's a little dongle that you plug into your iPhone and you swipe a credit card. Square is actually going to be developing a new reader and it's going to support Apple Pay, and I think that's pretty cool. Pinterest is expanding and they're going to have what is called buyable pins that you can purchase with Apple Pay within the device. So if you're on Pinterest on your iPad or on your iPhone and these new buyable pins, which are products that are going to be put out there by merchants or vendors or Etsy, you know, different places. If you want to buy one of those pins, you can do that directly from the app using Apple Pay, which is pretty interesting. I know my wife's going to probably love that. Apple Pay will be expanding to the UK starting next month in July. They will start with 8 banks total in July, and I believe the number was like 80%. 80% of all credit cards and or debit cards will be covered with those 8 banks, if I remember the numbers right. And they will also, this one is actually really cool, and I love this one. If you live in the UK, this is awesome. The entire London transportation system will use Apple Pay, whether you're taking a bus or whether you're taking the metro or the underground, or whatever they call it over there in the UK, you'll be able to pay with Apple Pay, and I think that would be amazing. I would love to see that in places like, you know, major metropolitans like San Francisco on the BART or the metro in New York City. That would be really, really cool. Or the subway. Let's see, what else? Apple Pay will now have the ability to add your store cards. So if you have store-specific cards and loyalty programs, like if you shop at Giant Groceries or if you go to CVS all the time, you'll be able to put those cards and those reward programs into Apple Pay. Or not Apple Pay, it's actually going into Passbook, and they're renaming Passbook. Passbook is now going to be called Wallet. Apple is trying to get rid of, you know, physical wallets and do it all on your phone. So I think that's actually cool. Loyalty cards and store cards in the wallet, something I talked about years and years ago with my wife, being able to have one thing to be able to have, you know, all of those that, you know, just swipe, and the fact that you can use Apple Pay to read them, which is really cool. They showed an example of you go into CVS and you have a CVS rewards program. in your wallet. You go to pay with Apple Pay, it automatically knows you're at CVS, it opens your reward card, gives you the points, and charges your credit card for your purchase, which I think is really, really cool. Very, very cohesive ecosystem there. So that was the main components that they talked about Apple Pay. They next went down and talked about the Notes feature, and it's kind of cool. You know, I was an Evernote user for years. When OneNote came out, OneNote 2013, which is what I have all of my notes on here, I switched over and made the change from Evernote to OneNote. Really love the way OneNote works. My wife is still a diehard Evernote fan. Apple's trying to step its game up with the Notes application, and they showed some really cool features here with the Apple built-in Notes app that's on your iPad, on your iOS, on your Mac device. They're now going to support checklists, in-note formatting, photo updates and uploads directly into Notes, and a share sheet from other apps. So if I'm cruising around on Safari and I see something that I want to note, when I hit that little up button to share it, whether it be a text message, email, Notes will be an option, so I can take that information and directly put it in a note. It was actually kind of cool, some of the stuff that they were showing, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting the beta of iOS so that I can play with that and see how it compares to Evernote and OneNote, because Notes is something I use all the time, both professionally and personally. Okay, so the next feature, which we've all been expecting with all of the rumors, if you look at Mac Rumors or follow any of the Mac-related internet sites, is Maps. They're now going to be offering us a transit view. So nothing that we haven't seen from Google for the past few years, but Apple is now going to do it, and they're going to do it in their way. They're going to actually have departure time. So they use New York City as an example. You'll be able to see the metro departure times or the subway metro time departure times, multi-mode routing. Essentially, if I am at point A and I want to get to point B, and the optimal way or the most inexpensive way or the quickest way to get there is to take a train 5 blocks and then hop on a bus for the next 2 blocks, they'll actually route that and give you that option and show you all the fares that are linked directly with taking that specific multi-mode routing option. It'll also give step-by-step information. So if I'm walking, it'll give you step-by-step directions, just like it does now. But I believe that's going to be integrated with if you're taking a cab for a certain, 5 or 6 blocks, so on and so forth. The other thing that I thought was actually really cool, and this is the Apple effect, if you will, is they've gone down and done some underground mapping for these train stations. Somebody who travels to New York City pretty frequently, not as frequently as I would like to, but somebody who travels to New York City pretty frequently for work, you go to Penn Station, and Penn Station is a city underground. And if you don't go the right way, take the right paths, and go out the right exit, you may have another 30 minutes to get where you're going. They actually are going to have an underground view of the station that you're in and give you walking directions within that station. So if you're somebody who frequently travels to one of these major commuter hubs like Penn Station in New York, and you don't travel often enough, let's say you don't take the same route over and over again so you have it memorized, you know how long it's going to take to get off the train and walk to the appropriate exit and grab a cab, or to go over to the appropriate platform to get on the right train that you need. This will actually tell you that information based on where you're getting out in the station and where you need to go to get to your final destination. And I think that was really cool. They showed a little 3D kind of highlighted red area underneath a specific station in New York to show what that looks like. And I think that's really, really cool. The other thing that they're going to have in there is if there are Apple Pay merchants along your route, whether it be a cab or a train or a coffee shop or a breakfast shop along your route, it'll actually denote that on the map and show you that you could stop and purchase something with Apple Pay. And that's just Apple being Apple, letting you know, hey, you want to come to us and pay with Apple Pay, you can. The next thing that they specifically talked about was a new app called News. I actually kind of liked this. I thought it was pretty cool. However, they mentioned it being news, and to me it wasn't news. It was newspapers, news articles, magazines. It wasn't news. Like, right now I have ABC News, NBC News, CNN News. I got all these different news apps on my phone that send me, send alerts, and I always hear 15 different times about a train derailment in Philadelphia on my lock screen, and whatever major news, ISIS getting blown up because a guy took an Instagram picture, which is amazing. If you haven't heard that story, go search ISIS and Instagram. And I want to have something that aggregates all my news because I don't watch nightly news. I don't watch TV news. I get my news off the internet. But what they're doing with the new News app is news and information from magazines and printed articles. So they talked about like 20 or 30 different articles. Let's see the number. You can do searches for over 1 million topics, and depending on whether it comes from Wired magazine, People magazine, Inked magazine, Hot VW magazine, whatever it is, it'll bring that information up, and it has a personalized feed. So you can go in, the first time you launch it, it's going to have this For You view. You can say, I like cars, I like food, and I like travel. And it's going to give you all the articles from all the different news sources that it has available to it about those specific topics and offer it to you and allow suggestions. So it looks like a pretty cool app, and it flowed and looked really, really nicely on the iPad that they demoed it on. So the next thing they jumped into is iPad, improvements to the using of an iPad. And unfortunately, I lost my Mini 2 on a travel trip, and I'm actually using my original iPad Mini that some of these features aren't going to work on, which was kind of a bummer. One of the things was a new quick type keyboard, which was kind of cool. It's got formatting, and it's got predictive texting, and it's got, you know, drag and drop type capabilities in the typing. When you're composing mail, you can use 2 fingers and it all of a sudden becomes a trackpad. So if you type some stuff and you want to change or edit something, you just use 2 fingers and move the cursor up and highlight with fingers. It's kind of cool. That was called, they called that trackpad 2-finger capability. Multitasking, we've all been asking for it. Androids have it for years. We now have multitasking on the iPad, turn it in landscape mode, put one app on one side, put another app on the other side, change the sizes of them. They have what is called, what did they call it? They called it slide over. So if you're looking at your thing, you could just slide over one side and see your messages, or double click it and open, you know, have email over here and your main app over here, whatever you want to do, swipe it away, change it, multi-view, multi-touch. One of the things that they thought was really cool was split view and multi-app, multi-touch. So if you had 2 different apps open, you could be scrolling and doing 2 different, if you got, you know, the dexterity to control 2 different apps at the same time and look at 2 different things, you can do that. I haven't used a lot of Android tablets, so I'm not sure if that's a feature that they stole or improved on, or it's just something that they came out with. The other thing is picture-in-picture. So if I'm watching a YouTube video, but I want to email my friends the link to that YouTube video while I'm watching it, because it's the greatest thing I've seen, you know, since ISIS getting blown up after taking a selfie. You can take that and pull that picture and put it into picture-in-picture, move it anywhere on the screen, size it the way you want, swipe it over, still hear the audio, and still use another application and drag and drop. Really kind of a cool capability, even all the way out onto the home screen. If you hit the home screen, the video will still be there if you want it there, and then you can close it when you're ready. So picture-in-picture on the iPad was one of the last things that they talked about. And then they kind of jumped into performance enhancements for iOS 9. Lower power, they have a low power mode button, right? So they're always talking about getting, and they say that you're going to get 1 more hour of use out of any of your devices with iOS 9 than you're currently getting, right? And that's, mileage will vary depending on your usage. But now they're going to have a low power mode. So you can go in and you can hit the button and it turns off all different types of things that will give you 3 additional hours of usage out of your device. I'll be very curious to play with that and see how that works. They're going to be adding 2-factor authentication to iCloud, so you have a lot more security when you're syncing your information between your devices. And the big thing is they've optimized the size for the update. Like with iOS 8, you needed 4-some gigs of available space, which I had family issues. You know, my wife and 2 of my sons didn't have the space to do the update. They've crunched that down. iOS 9 is going to be 1.3 gigs of update. So get yourself ready. When the beta comes out, if you sign up for the beta, they're actually doing a public beta for iOS 9, which is kind of cool. You'll be able to just do that update with 1.3, my apologies, 1.3 gigs of updates. So HomeKit. HomeKit via the cloud. Now you can have access to all of your HomeKit stuff without being on your local network. You can access it using iCloud. They did some updates to CarPlay, audio integration, and apps by the automaker directly to control your car from the CarPlay app. And CarPlay is going wirelessly. They're taking out the plug. You don't need to be plugged in anymore. The next thing, they had a lot. I'm sorry, this is a rambling video, but they really did mention a lot. Swift 2, so the programming language that they announced last year, they're updating it Swift 2. The big announcement there, it's going to be open source. I was chatting with a buddy of mine who happens to be a dev, and he's very skeptical on how open source it truly is. We'll definitely take a look into that and see whether or not you can get true underlying access to the Swift engine. Apple says you will, he says you won't. Multi-platform dev on non-Apple systems. So this is cool. You're going to be able to download and get Swift 2 on PC and Linux, which what that means for developers is you don't have to own an Apple system to program for Apple devices. So if you want to be a developer, but let's say you're an Android guy because they're fully open source and you develop with Android, but you really want to tap into the App Store and the Apple ecosystem, if you've got an a Linux-based PC, you can install Swift 2 and start developing on Linux. You don't have to go out and buy a Mac, which means you can have any PC-based hardware running a Linux OS and do that development. So that's going to be a really cool game changer. And you know what? I actually missed that portion of the announcement, and my buddy told me that he thought that was pretty exciting, and then I kind of tuned in and listened to that. So let's see. iOS 9 developer release available today. Again, I'm going to go upstairs as soon as I'm done with this video, get that, install it on one of my other phones, start playing around. Public beta will be available in July. You can sign up by going out to the website. I'll have the links in the descriptions. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like public beta or dev test or Apple We Want Your Business. I don't remember. Full version will be available in fall, and of course it'll always be free. Couple of stats they threw out. The App Store has over 100 billion apps downloaded and over $30 billion paid to Apple devs since the App Store opened. The next thing they talked about was watchOS 2. So the next update for the watch, and then they did the one last thing. So let me jump into watchOS 2. They're adding additional photo faces, so you'll be able to choose a few more. Still no open source, develop your own photo face and upload it, but they're going to give us a few more. One of which I thought was kind of cool was a time-lapse face with specific cities. New York City, San Francisco, they went out and they shot time-lapse, and it'll play time-lapse video in a loop based on the time of day that it is. And it was actually kind of cool looking. Complications, so the different widgets, if you will, that you can have on your phone are now, you can develop your own. One of the ones that they showed was, and a big nod out to us Volkswagen fans, was the e-Golf. So there was a complication on the e-Golf, so you could see the charge that he had on the e-Golf, and you could use these additional features to kind of play around with that, which was kind of cool. So you now can develop your own complications to put on your watch face, but no new watch faces, no new development of watch faces. A time travel function. Using the digital crown on the watch, you can spin it forward and kind of move time forward to see what your day looks like. So if you're a businessman, you got a lot of things going on, you want to know what's happening and what's going on. It's 8 in the morning. You can open your watch without having to open up your calendar. You can just scroll with that, and it'll go from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then all of the things that are associated, even if those complications are associated, in other words, your charge on your car or your flight, that'll all kind of show up and give you a picture of what your day looks like, which is kind of a cool feature. I definitely say Apple Watch looks a lot more attractive to me now with some of the features they're releasing with watchOS 2. Time travel, nightstand mode, put the watch on the desk sideways, it gives you a landscape clock and it gives you an alarm clock. Buttons allow you to snooze and turn it off. As you can tell, whoopee. FaceTime audio from the watch, so now you can hear your FaceTime audio directly from the watch. They're opening up the speaker and the mic to some of the other apps. Native apps on the watch that will actually count towards, that will count to activity. Native apps on the watch and count to activity. Oh, okay, so if you're using fitness applications like I use MyFitnessPal and I use Runkeeper, if you're using those apps, they will directly work on the native app, watch on the app, and they will count towards your daily activity monitor that iOS has in HealthKit. Siri control from the watch, store and rewards cards access on the watch, and transit information that we talked about that's coming with the new maps available on the watch. So the native apps, sorry, I keep moving around and jumping. My camera keeps turning off for me. I have to keep starting. I apologize for that. The native apps will now use the logic and the UI on the watch as opposed to coming directly from your phone all the time depending on the app. This is cool because it'll take the load off of your phone. However, it's going to add load to your watch, and you already get about a day, day and a half from what people are saying. So what's it going to do to battery life? That's my question. I have a little question. Battery kill, question mark. Known Wi-Fi will allow native apps to work with independence of your phone. So if you're in your house, if you're on Wi-Fi, you forgot your phone somewhere, if you have native apps that are now available on watchOS 2, they'll use the in-house Wi-Fi to do the updates and give you the information. It will not require coming directly from your phone. That's one of the functions of native apps. Access to the mic. So you'll now be able to talk using the mic for more than just phone calls. Play audio from the speaker on the watch. I don't know why you would ever want to do that. Video on the watch, small format videos, so perfect for like Vine videos or Twitch, not Twitch videos, but Instagram videos, little 15-second videos, you'll be able to watch them directly on your watch. Kind of cool, I guess. I'd much rather see them on a much bigger display. HealthKit access from the watch, HomeKit access from the watch. You can control and automate all of your HomeKit functionality in your house directly from your wrist. Kind of cool. Accelerometer access, one of the examples that they show, I know my father-in-law would love. If you're using an Apple Watch, there's a golf app out there. You can that golf app will now use the accelerometer on the watch and give you some very detailed information about your swing. One of the examples that they showed, Taptic Engine access and access to the crown for devs. So you can now develop an app that will manipulate that crown, whereas prior to watchOS 2, the crown did nothing but what Apple wanted it to do. Now you can program it to do it. The dev beta is available today. So if you're WatchKit guys and develop for WatchKit, you can get that today, fall for the public. And then we're going to finish this video out with the one more thing. The long-rumored Apple Music service is now available. Sorry, I had to get the mic cord out of my toe. It was driving me nuts. Apple Music was announced today. So what is Apple Music? It is Apple Streaming, Apple Connect, and Beats One. Beats One is an Apple radio station. So competing with XM, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. There's 3 DJs, 3 places in the world, always on, always live DJs, new radio shows coming out. So it seems like Apple is actually jumping into the broadcast music industry as opposed to just offering you a store. So we'll be very interested to watch that. That's Beats One. Streaming, you'll be able to access any and all music that is available on iTunes and stream it. And a new feature called Connect. And I had a thought, which I hope comes true. They mentioned it briefly, but Connect is going to be for you and your artists to connect. So right now, you follow your artists on Instagram, you follow your artists, your favorite artists on Twitter, you follow your favorite artists if anybody still uses MySpace. And you listen to their music, you download from iTunes, you listen on the radio, but now it's all coming together in a single spot. So the example that they used was Pharrell. Pharrell is writing music, sharing his music on Apple Music, writing little snippets of not dialogue, but lyric, sharing that on the Connect feature, releasing music ahead of time on the Connect feature. All of this, now what I want to know is, they mentioned unsigned artists. You know, they mentioned the kid in their living room. What I would like to see this develop into is exactly that. I would like to see a music function, kind of like what we have with the developers kits for all these different features. I'd like to be able to see the kids in the basement, the kids in the living room, that are developing music and writing music and doing great things with music, having a lot more access and public availability so that you could do sort of like crowdfunding or sourcing, or, you know, kind of like what YouTube did for Justin Bieber. I would like to see Apple do for all of these next unknown artists, these 10, 12, 13-year-old kids that are out there making these insanely awesome YouTube videos about their talent. And I'm hoping something like Apple Music will give that functionality using the Connect that they briefly talked about. Obviously, it's going to be mainstream artists to begin with, and let's see where it grows from there. The next thing is Siri is becoming more intelligent when it comes to music. So if you're using Apple Music, you can tell Siri, he used an example, play the song, play the #1 hit from May of 1982, and it played Joan Jett. So you can talk to Siri and get music based on Siri from album, artist, song titles, or play the top 10 alternative tracks, and it'll do that. So Siri is going to be integrated. It's coming, Apple Music will be available June 30th, so this month, with the iOS 8.4 update that is coming out soon. They're actually putting out an Apple Music Android app, which will be kind of cool. The service will be $9.99 a month, and that's stream whatever you want. That's Beats One, Connect, and unlimited streaming. So every single title available on the iTunes Store will be available for $9.99 a month. The first 3 months will be free, so you can give it a try. That's the way they're going to hook you. And the other thing that I actually think is kind of cool, they're creating a family account. So for $14.99, for $15 a month, which is just more expensive than 1 CD a month, you'll be able to have up to 6 family members using their new Apple Music service. So it gives us access to Beats One, playlist, recommendations, download lists, whatever you want. Up to 6 people in your family for $15 a month can download. And I personally have been a Zune music guy for years. I have used the Zune subscription for many, many years, and I can't wait till this comes out. I can stop dumping my money into Zune, which is an old, archaic form of streaming and having access to music, Xbox Music, into the Apple. I live in an Apple ecosystem, so I'm looking forward to dumping the Xbox app off my phone and the Zune software off of my PC and being able to do this because it's the same price. I think I pay $1 less. I think I pay $8.99. Actually, do I pay a quarter? There is a difference. I think I pay $10 a quarter every 3 months, whereas this is $9 a month. But we'll take a look at it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm going to go download the latest versions of the betas that I can get for iOS and for macOS, do updates, and we'll do a video on that. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the description below, in the comment section below, and we'll make some additional videos. As always, thanks for watching, and I know this was a long one, but you know what? I sat there for 3.5 hours getting all this information, and I wanted to make sure you got the most of it as quick as possible. Now, you don't have to spend 3.5 hours. You spent probably 30 minutes watching this video. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, and leave some comments. Give me some thumbs up, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.